We were in the principal's office. I needed to make a decision, enough to warrant a meeting with my dad and the head of campus. Do I go get business certificates while I'm in high school, or fill my timetable with all academic subjects? If I go with 5 ATAR subjects, there is less room for error. I cannot have one subject save me from the 5 best subject requirements for ATAR calculation. This is how the meeting went. Denzel, what you can achieve is here, and what the certification will offer you is here. What he was actually saying is push yourself. Go down the harder path. Before you ask me, I ended up with a 96.95 ATAR. And even with an amazing ATAR, I didn't end up going to university straight away. So, why did I end up taking the head of campus's advice? Even though I had the faint idea that I wasn't immediately going to university right after high school, why did I subject myself to the stress and study grind for a rank that I wasn't going to use anyways? I'm a man of principle, and a principle I live by is do your best. To illustrate this concept, I'll share the story of my grade 11 digital solutions teacher. It was our first assignment. Some of the class was slacking off, others getting frustrated that the code wasn't working for their mock up program, some bemoaning, convinced they're already gonna fail. Feeling the angst in the room, he gathered everyone's attention. He sat on one of the desks, seeing us eye to eye. With sincerity, he said, I do not care what result you get. I just care that you did your best. You cannot control the result you get. That is all I can ask for. The room settled, almost like a sigh of relief. As a student, that stuck with me. Not because the advice was revolutionary, but a teacher I respected meant it. For you can only control the controllables. You will go through hell if you obsess over a result that is largely outside of your control. So, what can you control? When it comes to study, it's by doing the work. Work, as a definition, is sacrificing the present for a greater reward in the future. Truly, taking this control was an obligation and responsibility to do your best. To practice sacrificing the comfort of ignorance and accepting the uncomfortableness of becoming competent. And I know, the skeptics and nihilists in the room might say, what's the point of doing the work? You would have ended up with the same result anyways, that is, not going to university. As a rebuttal to the skepticisms of doing any form of work, it comes from the book of Proverbs. In all labor, there is profit. Doing the work reveals and creates character. I am a better person from overcoming the voluntary obstacles that came with studying university prerequisite subjects. What would happen to me if I went down the vet pathway, the easier fork in the road? I think enjoyment is not a prerequisite to doing any work. Makes it a whole lot easier though. The only prerequisite for the burden to be carried is if it has a clear purpose or serves a greater good. God being that higher good. For the former or current high school musicians in the room, you would understand this concept. You practice for hours a week, for a rehearsal that may last an hour, only for a performance that may last 10 minutes. That is the price for personal excellence. The reward was not the rank itself. Although, I didn't immediately use my ATAR. What mattered more was the person I became, having gone through those trials and tribulations of studying the academics. Now, I'm actually using my ATAR I got 4 years ago to get into engineering. For I think, to some people, it's foreign the idea that I spent 2 years of work for a rank that I might not have utilized. As a human, you need challenges, a goal, to endure meaningful suffering, to realize potential. Who knows? Might end up going to university anyways.